Hey, this is Russ Payton with Role Playing Public Radio. This is RPPR episode 189, Plundering the Public Domain. And with me here is Caleb as a guest.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Yeah, it's been a hot minute since I've done a regular episode of RPPR.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, I have been, there's been some stuff going on in my life.
Yeah.
But now things have settled down a bit, and I remembered, I have this podcast, so should probably do it.
Definitely.
Yeah. In fact, I had this idea for this episode back in January because January 1st is Public Domain Day. That's when a bunch of stuff enters the public domain.
Well, for now. Eventually.
Yeah.
It won't be. It'll be Disney Day.
Okay.
Owned entirely by Disney.
All right.
You will have to pay to read or watch things.
Yes.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, we do a bit of news. So I'm starting a live stream that'll be on Twitch and YouTube. I can put it on both platforms, so it'll be saved on YouTube. And it's basically RPPR After Hours, a live stream. So I and some guests will be looking at various things that you can get on DriveThruRPG and itch.io. And basically, there's just on DriveThruRPG, there's over like 12,000 entries in the free PDF category. It's not even, pay what you want or free. So there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of material. So we're just be looking at the interesting stuff, taking viewer questions, and just hanging out. So just kind of a weekly or bi-weekly thing. I haven't figured out the exact schedule, but and then the videos if you missed the live stream, the videos on demand will be available for patrons. And there is a link in the show notes to both channels, the YouTube and the Twitch channel, and we will make the videos on demand for patrons. And our first stream is already done, and I'll have a link to the YouTube video of that in the show notes, so you can listen or you watch as Baz, Aaron, and I look at some really cool games on DriveThruRPG, like this one called Kill Sector, which has a very Metalocalypse, Super Jail kind of vibe to it. It's like a tabletop combat game where you're just fighting monsters in an arena, and all the art looks like high school, notebook doodles of like cool guy, mutant guy with shotgun. And
the game you designed in high school, that's a combat system and a combat system.
Yeah. I mean, it's called Kill Sector.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very appealing. Baz in particular was a big fan of it. So it was a lot of fun to go through that. Then we went through a 1-page dungeon compilation, like a contest entry for 2019. And some other things. And it was a lot of fun.
Cool. Yeah.
So we'll be doing that. So subscribe to that Twitch channel or the YouTube channel or both, whatever. And if you miss them, you can always get them on the RPPR Patreon. So
I can't wait for you to answer the question 80 times that Twitch holds VOD for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Twitch holds VOD for 2 weeks. I'll be posting it later. Twitch holds VOD for 2 weeks. Have you heard that Twitch holds VOD for 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Because that's how they told me on the website when I looked that up. But instead, the people will be asking you on every means of communication you have available.
Yeah.
I look forward to your mentions just being flooded by men of a certain age who will not Google things.
But YouTube holds that things forever. But the videos I'll make unlisted so that only patrons have access to them. So, anyways, but it'll be live. If you catch it live, it's free for everyone. So, be very cool. Caleb, do you have any updates for?
I'm pretty close to having a PDF out to backers of Phase Anatomy. So, to let you know in publishing language, I'm currently working on annotations I finished it once and I lost the file, but I'm second time working on annotations for the PDF copy of Phase Anatomy, and it will be done very soon because the only thing left to do is page x-axis. So that is an index, and that's the last thing you do before you send something out. So that'll go out to backers, and then from there we'll have to do some print proofs, but we should be done. And the website is up and you can play it now, and the book is I think it's amazing. I don't know if anyone else ever wanted to see an RPG book laid out by tax code with over 600 endnotes. A good 40.
Have you looked at Champions the RPG?
A good 40% of which is just me losing my mind. Parenthetically,
There's a non-zero number of RPG books that can stop bullets.
Yes.
So yes, there is a debate.
Thankfully, the rules for the GM patient character and the rules for the player are, you could learn the entire game off the character sheet.
Yeah.
And
this is not that kind of game.
And there's 40 pages of rules for each. If you really want play examples for every single mechanic, they're in there. And the rest of it is half actual medical knowledge pulled by an archivist with, links. You could learn a lot of stuff about C. difficile. Click on it. I checked the link. It works. I didn't read it. I definitely didn't read it to design the game, but it's in there if you're interested. And the rest is just made up supernatural bullshit and just me doing my best David Foster Wallace in the endnotes. But I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope it comes out soon, but keep your eyes on your inbox, I guess.
Yeah. And also, I've been playing in the campaign you've been running for Delta Green Dead Channels. Yes. Insolent Impulse, along with Greg Stolze, Rob Stith, and now Baz.
And Shane Ivey.
And that's been a lot of fun. And
yeah, we ran the first arc on Twitch, and the audio-only versions of that are available on my Patreon, Delta Green Dead Channels. And then Delta Green is posting the VOD recording of our Twitch stream on their website. And since I also made this kind of a found audio thing, if you listen to it on Twitch, I've also edited in like the found audio parts with graphics and stuff.
Nice.
Where the players would be, the characters would be listening.
Yeah.
So as audio drama as we're ever going to get in Delta Green. But yeah, and we are currently continuing the campaign in a second quote adventure end quote, and it's going well. Yeah, no one's on your side's died yet.
That's technically true.
So that's a 100% success in Delta Green.
We've not achieved good effect on target yet.
Yes.
So we'll see if we can achieve effect on target without all dying.
Yeah,
I'll be pretty impressed. So yeah, that's something to look forward to. So anyways, that's show topic. So the public domain, if you're not aware, is a legal term for things that for intellectual property that has fallen out of copyright, and that means anyone can use it, anyone can remix it, resell it, reprint it. For example, Shakespeare is in the public domain. Anyone can take Shakespeare's plays and publish and print them.
Yeah, if you don't know, it's why Sherlock Holmes is everywhere all the time. Yeah, even though he is, a Victorian or Edwardian police detective, he is also free to use. So, Robin Hood, a staple of the fantasy and nerd genres. Yeah, everywhere are public domain people before Disney clamped the gate shut.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And certainly the copyright law that Disney recently not recently, like 20 years ago, lobbied to modify is now they could not make it they can't make it indefinite. That's in the Constitution, I believe. So like they had to say it lasts this many years or whatever. And so that 20 years has passed. And so like things are now falling into the public domain again in America, in the US. And of course, copyright law varies greatly from country to country. Like in Japan, Rashomon, famous Kurosawa movies are in the public domain, but it's not in public domain here. It's complicated. So there are these websites that champion the public domain, and they started last couple of years ago. The public domain day, January 1st of every year. That means certain new things are entering into the public domain. And so I saw that and it's like, oh, that would be interesting because now there's gameable stuff in there. I mean, there always has been, but yeah. Yeah.
And public domain has always been great for RPGs. There's a ton of like, tapestries and, public art museum industries that are metal as fuck and go easily to fantasy campaign. And you don't have to pay for them. And, Pelgrane does almost entirely photo manipulated public archive images for their art. And there's a ton of stuff in the gaming world that wouldn't exist without public domain.
Yeah.
So
There's a lot of like OSR and zine like aesthetic projects that use public domain artwork and imagery.
There's a bit of an irony to it because like there are these things here that people haven't heard of in the past that people can use freely. But I think in terms of public domain, a lot of gamers don't really care about it because they don't give a shit about copyright because they're not publishing.
Right.
Which is sort of ironic. You take this nerdy hobby that is in maximum need of genre inspiration, and then you have this giant trove that is only like really plumbed by people like you and me who are looking for something cheap that doesn't cost an arm and a leg and destroy our Kickstarter budget. Which is ironic because it definitely has a lot more use in the general gaming sphere for just like, we want to play a campaign here, or I want to use that character.
So like the websites I saw when they're talking about public domain day, they had like, here are the big things, the things you may have actually heard of. And like top on the list of all of these websites is, and I'll have links to these websites, at least some of them in the show notes, so you can take a look, see for yourself what has entered into the public domain. The biggest one is Winnie the Pooh, the original novels, illustrated books. So Disney, of course, that means the Pooh without the shirt on. So the Pooh with the red shirt on, that's the Disney version. So you can't use that version, but you can reference the original or copy the original artwork or make an homage, whatever you want to do with the original Winnie the Pooh books. No one can stop you.
By the way, on a related note, we all need to keep eyes on the Riverdale showrunners and make sure they don't get anywhere near that. No one needs sexy Christopher Robin shirtless in the 100-acre wood pouring honey on his chest.
Who's that guy? I call him the Pooh.
Exactly. Nobody needs that. So be sure to keep them away and not tell them this information.
So that's like the single biggest one. But I looked in here and there are a lot of other things. The first thing that I saw that I thought would be good for a game would be actually the novel Mutiny on the Bounty, which is a real interesting story, of course, about a mutiny on a ship at sea. And I believe this is just the film version.
Oh, the film version? I was going to say
no. I believe this is just the novel version. So the film version, I believe, is still copyrighted.
Man, I thought the novel was already public domain as well, but I guess
so I'll have to check that, but definitely the story. So the stories are pretty similar. So that would be the first thing. And so for me, that would be like a whole game, like a small indie storytelling game about like you pick a side either as the captain or as the crew, or maybe probably as the crew, because that's more for an ensemble cast. And like it would be kind of, I don't know if it would be like even a storytelling game or like even as a board game.
I mean, I think that'd be good for like I wouldn't want to play it in that system, but 7th Sea or like a pirate campaign. Like if you're mutineers, that's a great story frame as to why you have to go out and do heinously dangerous, adventurous shit. It's like, well, we killed the admiral, and I think that's a good impetus because, like, was my character really enthusiastic for the plan? Did I just go along because I didn't want to die? Like, that, I think that's a good adventure seed.
But the whole thing is a social conflict, and so. There's so many games focusing on actual physical combat. This is a game that really emphasizes, hey, social combat can also mean life or death. And so, like, I would try to create some sort of system to represent like the morale. What side is the crew on? And like, what do you have to do to convince them? So like at certain points there would be like the inciting incident. The first time you're like, oh man, we need to get rid of the captain. Like captain's going to get us all killed and like the captain's going to keep taking escalating risks. And so like there would be some sort of tension. Like the more risks the captain takes, the easier it'll be to convince the crew to mutiny. But like on the other hand, the longer you wait, the worse it is for the crew. like crew members are going to die or get maimed, and you don't know exactly what's
also
going to happen.
a hidden role board game that just sort of writes itself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that would be a lot of fun. And the board game version could come with ball bearings as like a Kickstarter exclusive or something like that. Just clacking.
They weigh how much?
Yeah.
That's how much to ship? Oh,
Yeah.
God, we're ruined.
Yeah.
My children. The future.
Clack.
I'm here with 90,000 ball bearings. I can't ship to the U.S. Postal
Well, no, like the film version, Bogart used those ball bearings as like his fidget spinner of the day. Basically.
I'm just saying that's the kind of thing that ruins an RPG.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, that is
shipping.
that is the weight someone loads into a vest and then jumps off the boat like fucking the guy in Captain and Commander or whatever is the Albatross kid. Like, I'll just drown. Like, boom.
Guess I'll die.
God, that sounds like a Chaosium gimmick. Ball bearings with every game. A leaden bar that will ship through the mail.
Yeah, Chaosium does love their gimmicks. I mean, I do have a copy of the Orient Express, and boy, like, did you really have to make a matchbook prop and like for this campaign?
Yeah, apparently they did.
Yeah, and it almost ruined the company.
To the point of suicidal enthusiasm.
Yeah, and then they got into NFTs. Oof. So the next one on my list that I thought would be interesting would be actually a series of images. Are you familiar with the Arrow Collar Man? It's a 1920s. There's a link in the show notes. And it's a series of images put up for Arrow collars, basically it's this Art Deco style commercial illustration of a very handsome man in a very nice suit. And it became famous, and it was like the Marlboro Man of the 20s. Very dapper and sophisticated, very Great Gatsby kind of vibe. And those images are before 1926, so like you can use them now. I think 1926 is now the cutoff date, by the way, for public domain. Anything made in 1926 or earlier is now public domain. I
find him somewhat menacing.
Well, yeah, there you go. That's
his collars are too sharp.
Too sharp, yeah. So there's two ways you could use this. One, the artist. You could use, I believe, was a closeted gay man, and so like he was very interested in handsome men, and so like you could if you're making like a visual novel or something like that, just use those images for your characters and make a new version of The Great Gatsby, or you could focus on the menacing version of these.
Finally, Nick could do what he spent the entire novel thinking about doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it'd be a very stylish visual novel. The menacing version would be interesting. You could do using this artwork. You could make a really handsome like solo journal RPG of being like maybe a Carcosa 1920s vibe. I don't know. What do you think? Like,
yeah. Like I also find the framing of it, like the advertisement of it, like you only see the body and silhouette based off like what's exposed from the shirt, like under the cuffs and just the white shirt, and then like disappearing into a black background. Very much like One of the Thousand Masks kind of thing, energy you could do with that. Also, like you said, developed by a gay man in what year?
Like the 1920s, like even before the 1920s.
Well, he was either very attracted to men who were not having fun, or trying to reflect something in their facial expression, because they don't seem welcoming. They're very handsome, but they are also having a very bad time. My favorite is the one on Wikipedia. The guy at the horse race is just staring stock forward in the background of all the people enjoying it, with eyes haunted like he'd seen war. Yeah, there is something vaguely menacing about it. But I mean, that's advertisement. Yeah.
The artist, JC Leyendecker. There's actually speculation about whether he was gay or not, but he did a lot of poses of handsome young men in curious poses or exchanging glances. He never married and lived with another man for much of his adult life.
Yeah, so, they were just pals.
Yeah, they were just pals.
Bros being dudes.
Bros being dudes.
Thanks, history. Yeah, you covered it.
Yeah, so So I again, you can just pillage all this artwork, repurpose it, Photoshop it. I mean, that's what a lot of like Mork Borg and other RPGs use is to repurpose this artwork. In fact, there's a lot. I made a whole separate section for artwork. Now that we're talking about it,
man, Great Gatsby would have been a short book if Nick and Gatsby just hooked up, huh?
Yeah.
Man, Daisy just gets left with her awful, shitty husband.
Yeah.
And a vehicular manslaughter charge. Meanwhile, Gatsby's like, I'm rich from crime. Let's travel the world. And Nick's like, I have no personality, but I like you. And then off they go. It's just a happy ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe Great Gatsby's public domain now, too. So you can just rewrite that. Make it like they added zombies to Pride and Prejudice.
If you rewrite it, a child might actually read it other than the Sparks Notes version of it. Give it a shot. Yeah.
So there's tons of artwork available. And it's, the websites that publicize public domain day focus on the big name stuff, but there's thousands of works entering in the public domain. So in the artwork category, I just went through Wikipedia or archive.org and looked for things that were made in 1926. And found some things that were like, oh, there's artwork we can use to pillage. Like there's one book, again, I'll have a link, called Liberation of Mankind, Story of Man's Struggle for the Right to Think. I have no idea what it's about, but I looked through it and there's pictures in it. So like that's all you need. You can extract the pictures, make them into vectors, scale them up, or Photoshop them to hell.
And you're going to have to, because I think print DPI back then was 2.
Well, it's also not just that it's also the scan of the book. This is like done in bulk. Like they have specialized scanners at archive.org to scan, these.
Yeah, no, they chop the books into pieces.
Yeah.
And run them through like a sawmill. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it depends on how long they've been doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. There's the story. The cover image of this book is like a caveman with a spear looking at some other cavemen around a fire and like on a cliff, and it looks very dramatic. So I'm sure 1920s history books were really.
Oh God. Ugh. It might as well be a fantasy universe for all its relationship to actual history.
Yeah. But there's tons of images of just like castles and like skulls and fortresses and like other interesting things. So that's I like that. Let's take a look. Number 2. Also, if you're doing Call of Cthulhu stuff, especially historical things. For example, like if you're doing something in the Middle East set in the 20s, I found a book called In Barbary, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, and the Sahara. Lots of photos that you could easily plunder for your, Chaosium monograph or whatever you want to do. So pretty fun.
When I used to teach, I used to publish these for old grammar books.
Yeah.
That came out of like textbook circulation a long time ago, and I would like find like hardcore like let's diagram some sentence bullshit. Like, and I would usually do that for a thing in class to talk about how language shifts, because I'd first make them do just like what you were supposed to do in 4th grade, which for your average like senior in high school would cripple them now. Like would be the equivalent of been like launch an Apollo mission and get back alive, and then we'll give you a C. Like there's just no chance they're going to be able to diagram these sentences or like name the Latin declension of that verb conjugation or anything like that. But then I'll also show them like some other thing that was like common at the time. It's just like, correct this sentence. And they'll like try and correct it. It was like, actually, you were supposed to get rid of all the female pronouns. It's unsightly to have a woman on the page. Like, and like from a fucking textbook or like heinous shit. Like, and I'd just be like, yeah, it's all made up, guys. Don't let your parents say there's like, we were smarter back then. They did this, but then they also did this. So you just got to take it as it comes. Cause I think with the art in books like that, you can do a lot more to rip them out of context than the text.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying is like, don't feel obligated to do it historical. Like for Call of Cthulhu stuff, obviously it's a historical game most of the time. So, the whole point, the whole gimmick of Call of Cthulhu is take an investigation, put it in some place the player character's unfamiliar with, some weird, somewhat not weird, but like different time and place. Another one, another good book that I found just randomly by looking through here was the Arcturus Adventure, an account of the New York Zoological Society's first oceanographic expedition. And guess what? Lots of like good art of weird ass ocean creatures they dredged up with a net. And some photos. So
yeah, that's also a good place to like start if you were doing like a document for a game. Just like, well, everything happened according to history up to page 35.
Yeah.
And then I hired an artist.
Yeah.
And I started writing what happened next. Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah. So, just there's a variety of materials, and like there are thousands of things. A book on ancient Rome, tons of photos of Roman ruins, history of the ancient world. And then let's take a look here. Mesoamerican ruins, and this book called The City of the Sacred Well, being a narrative of the discoveries and excavations of Edward Herbert Thompson in the ancient city of Chichen Itza. Blah, blah, blah. Oh my God. It's like a full ass paragraph for the title of this book. Just lots of photos. Like, don't read the text because it's going to be awful because it was written in 1920 or 1926. But lots of photos of these Chichen Itza before it was turned into a tourist resort, basically.
Yeah. It's such a great research. Like there's tons of stuff coming out on itch and DTRPG now by really talented creators. And I do think for the most part, even the people who have like done more than me and been able to teach themselves layout in a program, they're way better about finding this stuff and like utilizing it to make like very engaging, visually cool, are the zine movement and things like that. But man, you do love it when you find somebody who has just written a game and needs some art.
Yes.
This is the first book they find. It's like about, laser battles, and it's just a bunch of pictures of ionic columns. Or my favorite was the Hill Folk release, where it was just pictures of like road signs and like things they found on the street. It's very, there's a special place in my heart for those books. Aww. So just get something.
Yeah, get something.
It's better than nothing. Yeah,
it's better than nothing. The real treasure trove is and always will be the pulps. Pulp magazines in the 1920s. Great cover art. And interior art too. And there's tons of resources. So I found on archive.org, there is a whole pulp magazine archive with lists of different ones. Just be sure to check the year, make sure it's 1926 or earlier. I found one random one. Like, these are like the big name pulps, like Amazing Stories from May 1926. And like the cover art of this one is like just a wild ass bat alien on a planet. And there's tons of other useful images too, because this is a scan of the entire magazine, so it has these advertisements of them, and they have like excellent line drawing of like guns, like revolvers. Buy a gun for a nickel, and we'll mail it to you. It's the 20s. We don't care. Children can have Tommy guns if they want as a treat. It's America. We don't care. You could still totally buy that gun by the mail. It just costs more than a nickel. Yeah. Sorry, it's a blank cartridge pistol for $1. Like, that's another thing, is not just the artwork, but also just as a resource. If you're doing like a Gonzo kind of game, you could do just look at these old style like ads that they had. Sneezing powder, mystic skeleton, serpent's eggs, stage buddy, x-ray tube, good luck ring, exploding cigarettes. Like, these are all things that were for sale. My little giant typewriter, US baby tank for 25 cents, throw your voice, resurrection plant. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, old catalogs could do a lot of inspiration just for like graphic design and layout. Because like when you had to do all that shit by hand once a year to send to every dry store in the country, like there's more craftsmanship that went into like a shitty Sears catalog.
Oh yeah,
from like the 1860s. Than there isn't a lot of books that are put out today. Yeah. So I think that's also a tool for inspiration.
Yeah. No, that's a good idea. I hadn't even thought about the Sears catalogs, but yeah, that was kind of like how the American West was settled.
I definitely wouldn't like look to the novel for like for inspiration too much in laying out an RPG book or something. But, catalogs, I think textbooks, maybe even, at least when you get to around turn of the century, might have some interesting stuff going on.
Yeah. So the pulp magazines are going to be a gold mine of stuff. And we'll get into some of the characters that are in there too, because it's not just the artwork, but it's also
before Warren Ellis, we figured out who he was. He used to do this thing on his email list every week where he would find some other dead golden age pulp character, and it became an art thread, and that was my favorite thing to read for 5 years in college. It was great. Yeah. It would just be Lady Satan. She's an heiress that fights crime with 2 dragoon pistols in a red cocktail dress. It was holy shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Just a lady with an enormous hat firing cannons and wearing the thinnest Harlequin mask and calling herself Batman while in an evening gown. And the drawings were great. Some people took it seriously. Some people had it like Kathy, she was being blown backwards by both pistols through a wall. They were brilliant. So.
Yeah. So there is this great thread on Twitter that was published around this time on January 1st from Jess Nevins, who is a college librarian and who wrote a book called Horror Fiction in the 20th Century. And she made this exhaustive list of new pulp heroes entering in the public domain in 1926. And it's a 78 tweet thread. And so there's just tons of great characters. So I picked 2 of them because I love them so much. And let's see. The first one is Johnston McCulley's Crimson Clown. He's a costume vigilante. He's a wealthy bachelor playboy, a World War I veteran, a big game hunter, and an explorer of the North Pole. He steals from rich crooks and returns the stolen money to his rightful owners.
Literally Jokerfied. Quite literally Jokerfied.
There's a picture of him on the May 2, 1931 Detective Story magazine, and it's a clown in a red suit with white, holding a gun and a glass of liquor. He has a pistol in one hand and a glass of bourbon in the other.
If it's a choice, I know which one I make. That's pretty wild. I do love the idea of a guy who just dresses up like a jester. And to be clear, it's from this era. He absolutely shoots people.
Oh yeah.
At this point, Batman had a Tommy gun. No one gave a shit. Fighting crime meant doming people. So, if he was just stitching up, rich people with a trench gun or something, and I did it for justice.
So you could use him in numerous ways. Obviously, he could be out of time and out of place for a Base Raiders or a modern superhero game. He gets locked in a cryogenic tube or something like that, or times travels to a modern age, and then he has to deal with superheroes who don't kill, and he's like, "What the fuck? They're criminals. Kill them. Just shoot them." That's what I do.
It sounds like someone fish mouthing their character in a pulp game. Spirit of the Century is oh well, I'm a billionaire playboy, but sometimes the Crimson Clown takes over. Well, and I black out.
Well, that's the other thing.
I wake up in the North Pole, and
I'm sure someone's done this, but a pulp Cthulhu thing where all the characters are vigilantes like that, but they're fighting the Cthulhu mythos.
So just the saddest, shortest Watchmen episode.
Oh no!
Just some dude in a Harlequin mask, a lady in a cocktail dress, a guy whose thing is fencing. I don't know, and then they just all get eaten in the first turn.
No, because they would have to have some sort of pulp abilities to reflect their, the fact that they could do this.
Oh, so you want a Mike Mangala, Hellboy,
yeah, like Lobster Johnson, yeah, that kind of thing. I think that would be fun. Your version sounds pretty fun too.
I do imagining setting up the backstory for all these heroes, and then it's just blood covered spandex, and it's over in a turn.
They gun down some cultists turn 1. They go in the warehouse, and then the Shoggoth eats them. Yeah. So 3 turns. I'm trying to think of any other use for the Crimson Clown. he could be the subject of an investigation. Like the player characters are regular like detectives or something trying to figure out what the fuck is this guy's deal.
It could be the funniest thing your PI has ever seen in a Dirty World game.
Oh,
just a guy who thinks he's that.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, there were weebs back then too.
Yeah.
And some of them had money enough to buy costumed red
that's fun. So the other one that really grabbed my eye, I mean, they were all really good, was Edward Paris's Ware's Jack Calhoun, a U.S. Ranger active in the sunken lands of northeastern Arkansas.
This is the swamp guy.
Yeah.
I read about this one in that thread.
Yeah?
I remember this guy. Okay, look, here's the reason public domain laws are bullshit, all right? We needed Jack Calhoun sooner, and we needed it when we had Burt Reynolds around at an age when he could play him.
Oh, yeah.
This is a man built for fan boat parts. And Burt Reynolds is the only one who could have done it, of Gator. But we don't have a man capable of playing Jack Calhoun anymore. He's lost to history.
Yeah.
It's a tragedy.
It is,
right?
Yeah. But I like that he sets it like at the turn of the century. Like apparently... he fights swamp rats, scary inbred smugglers, a little on the inbred thing, counterfeiters, blackmailers, and murderers. They force him to be hard-boiled without much conscience. In other words, a killer vigilante going against crazed murderers like the Panther and the Jungle Butcher in Arkansas.
Jungle Butcher. The Jungle Butcher of Arkansas. Was this written in a time like when they used to do travel logs of the New World and said there were giraffes all over the place? Like, has he been to Arkansas?
Yeah, I mean, he's describing Arkansas as the sunken lands. Like, it's like the fucking lost continent of Mew over there, you know?
I think I've made that part in Elden Ring.
Yeah, exactly. So like this is
sunken Arkansas.
This is like an Unknown Armies thing. Like you go into this part, you walk into this, you go through certain crossroads as you cross the border into Arkansas, and you're Jack Calhoun's Arkansas, and like things are getting real. The Jungle Butchers.
All right.
Yeah.
So here's my Jack Calhoun.
Okay.
All right. So it's called Flyover Country. And you all play coastal elites. You don't know what goes on in the middle of the world. All right, so you go to Arkansas with your coastal elites, right? And you're introduced to Jack Calhoun, but he shows you how real Americans live. Only there's no bottom. Like, it's always worse than I thought. Like, it starts off in like a bar that doesn't have seltzer.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And then you're just like in a fan boat chase with like inbred cannibals, and then it just keeps going. Like you go down a tributary into sunken Arkansas. Jack Calhoun's like, real Americans always deal with the hellbirds, and
Yeah,
like
the hellbirds, yeah.
It just keeps like the reality keeps getting deeper and further away from the coast.
This is the more real America.
Yeah,
This is real America. This is the most real America. Yeah.
Sunken Arkansas is the drain of the American conscious. It just keeps going down. And Jack Calhoun is the only man who can delve it.
I do like that. That could be a really fun, like one-page game or something like that. So perfect for itch.io. But yeah, Jess's list has quite a few things. And like the first one on our list was Frank Allison. Allison is a cowboy riding a train across the Badlands when he gets kidnapped by an alien, Gorlog, intent on enslaving him and several others.
Real Rice Burroughs vibe here so far.
Allison escapes. In the sequel, he goes to Gorlog's home planet and frees all his slaves.
I love the fucking chutzpah of your average Edgar Rice Burroughs sci-fi space opera fantasy guy. Just like, well, I got kidnapped once. I ain't gonna let this stand. Time to go to Mars. And then like does it. And then like succeeds. Like all that John Carter of Mars shit. He's just like, well, I just showed up here, but I guess I'll become the king of your people.
Yeah. So I really want to put this Allison here, the Frank Allison, the in any sci-fi game where it's even vaguely appropriate. Like you're just in a traveler game or
everyone loves a gunfighter in space.
Gunfighter in space, yeah, cowboy in space.
Why not have him be literally a gunfighter in space? Like a historically accurate gunfighter.
Well, I got them cybernetic upgrades and I don't age no more. I figure I'm about 500 years old, but I'm still fast, as you can see. Yeah.
It's damn hard to find powder out here, but people keep trying to give me plasma, but Colt was a strong man, but the cylinder can't handle that. Yeah.
There ain't a man or alien alive that a Colt gun can't kill.
Hey, could you piss here for me? I need some saltpeter.
I love that idea that he's like, he's a skilled fighter, but he needs the PCs to get these rare resources so he can use his favorite guns. Like it becomes a real Ship of Theseus thing, and so he's upgraded and had to repair his gun so many times it looks like this fucking like chrome abomination. That's like, but it still shoots straight. So yeah, God, just Revolver Ocelot in space.
What if that's why he's so effective against the other people? They have like kinetic laser shields and like bullshit to stop dune weaponry, and they never considered like someone pisses so hard they make it an explosive and then put it behind a piece of metal and throw it at me real fast.
Yeah, and at relatively slow speeds.
Yeah,
it's a big fat bullet.
He's summoning meteors. Like, no, he's just not using like sci-fi bullshit.
God, yeah, the slow gun penetrates.
Slow gun penetrates.
Yeah, there you go. See, that's a good gimmick for a game. The next one on our list was Don Amazio from a radio serial. Don Amazio, the golden violinist who plays music around the world and finds adventure everywhere he goes. Two-fisted violinist, the action Stradivarius, music moles and mobsters.
Oh, man.
So
the Timothy Chalamet movie we need.
Yeah. I think this would be like a good Cthulhu premise, is like playing like an orchestra group that like gets involved in weird occult shit wherever they go. So everyone plays.
Oh, that would rule as a campaign frame. You're just like the golden bow, but not racist, and all of you like, and you spell bow B-O-W because you're all in like the violinist section.
Yeah. So everyone's like part of his band, Don Amazio's.
Everyone's a weird spiritualist / at least third chair.
You're Cronus Quartet, but you fight monsters too. Yeah. So
I would be more interested in it if like you did that with a Hillfolk game in between every session.
Oh, okay.
Like
for the drama.
I would really like, well, you go out and you're the fighting violinists, but then when you get back, it's tryouts for first chair, and regionals are coming up. It's gonna get heavy.
Yeah, who's gonna get that tutoring gig?
Exactly. You're applying for the same grant as your other teammate.
Well, you get that tutoring gig for that spoiled rich kid, like easy money, but you have to put up with the rich asshole's family. I love that contrast. Let's see here. E. Hoffman's Prince Pierre d'Artois, a French occult detective active in France, the Iberian Peninsula, and the Mediterranean.
Oh, okay.
He fights ghouls, necromancers, Satanists, and cultists, and teams up with an Islamic scholar for anti-Cthulhu mythos activities.
French Kojak.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Like, stop. You've hit gold.
Yeah.
Who was the Italian one? There was the Italian pulp supernatural investigator. I can't remember his name. Every country has their own like trench coat and monster guy. I'm glad France has one too.
Oh yeah. It's always fun. Let's see here. They aren't particularly well written, but they have potential. Stomping grounds are not the usual settings for an occult detective. His home city of Bayonne is an alluring locus of spookiness. So anyways, the next one is John Dixon Carr's Henry Ben Collin, once famous, now forgotten, Mephistopheles with a cigar, the most dangerous man in Europe. Let's see here, a private detective on the side.
I was going to say, are these just things he calls himself? Because he doesn't sound that great.
A flamboyant, eccentric dandy. He loves nightclubs, catching criminals more. When he's about to catch a criminal, he wears full evening attire and carries a sword cane, regardless of the time of day and of the setting. The foremost police official in Europe.
This is the best BBC mystery they don't have the courage to make. Just this utter fop, this utter asshole who's kind of good at solving mysteries, just wearing spats,
Yeah,
and coattails to like go to the East End and bust some guy who killed his wife. It would be hilarious. Yeah.
Oh, I kind of now I can kind of see a Honey Heist hack, fop heist, where everyone's playing a fop like that, and just like you roll on a d6 to see what your
Dueling fops of Vindemere.
Dueling fops of Vindemere. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, of course, Greg Souls, he's already made the game.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Douglas Fairbanks and Senior and Albert Parker's the Black Pirate from the film of the same name. Let's see here. Nobleman who swears vengeance on the pirates who kills his father and becomes a pirate to do so. Well, you know, pretty standard stuff, pirates. But
Historically, noblemen who became pirates just thought piracy was dope. That has been historically the only reason a rich guy who could afford a boat needed to go fuck around and see if he could be a pirate. Yeah.
Yeah. Henry Whitehead's Gerald Canvin is a Virginian fiction writer who travels across the Caribbean and encounters and fights the various Otru creatures. Most of which are connected to voodoo or the Cthulhu mythos.
Ooh, self-insert fighting voodoo.
Yeah.
That's
risky. But we make it all about Cthulhu.
Yeah.
They are colonialist as hell. So you could always rewrite it, make it do sort of a Lovecraft Country version take on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's one you're not going to predict what the profession is.
All right.
H. Bedford Jones's the writer. The character's name is Peter J. Clancy.
Here's the first name of Bedford does not inspire
Bedford Dash Jones,
not excited about what job he gave this man.
Yeah. So the character's name is Peter J. Clancy.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is Peter J. Clancy's?
He is a short dentist in Paris.
He's just short.
He's a short dentist. His face was wrinkled, kindly, shrewd wrinkles they were, and his eyes were very bright of a piercing gray. Former French Foreign Legion, of course, and a very Parisian American. He puts his knowledge of dentistry and stamps, he's a collector, to good use solving a variety of puzzling mysteries. He is Watsoned by an Army veteran and boxer.
So he's just a short guy, or is like
he's a dentist,
or is there a thing called a short dentist?
He's short and a dentist.
Okay, because like it doesn't say in his job description, tiny dentist.
He's short. He's a dentist. He's a stamp collector,
and he was a member of the French Foreign Legion.
Yeah,
and hangs out with an army vet.
So now I kind of want to do, looking at all of these, I want to make like a random set of tables for what do you call it? Making pulp characters.
This sounds like the worst player in your campaign. Like the reason all the mysteries have to be solved by either dentistry or stamps is because those are the only things he put character points in. Otherwise, we're not going to have a game.
Yeah, and
very much the forge your sniper of classical antiquity.
Yes, Bob, the villain did bite something at the crime scene.
All your villains have an oral fixation now. Yeah,
there's just a bunch of half discarded sandwiches throughout the entire campaign. But like that's kind of like a reverse storytelling game. Like, okay, it's like a competitive storytelling game where like one player comes up with a bullshit detective with the most useless abilities, and then the other player has to figure out what crimes that character can actually solve. So like, so if this guy's a dentist. What mysteries can he solve? Oh well, the sandwich burglar. You know, the guy who always eats a sandwich and leaves it. That's his calling card. It's a sandwich.
I love the idea of a Mary Sue, but the world's on their side. They're just not amazing and world beaters. Like a Mary Sue where like they have every skill and they're good at everything is boring. Mm-hmm. Now show me a Mary Sue who reality bends around to make all problems dentistry based.
Well, also scam
are like the late episodes of House where like he's diffusing a bomb in somebody's brain. Like because that's good. That's when you show reality's on their side. Everything becomes a stamp problem.
Yeah, it's like the bad guy mailed a letter. It turns out it's a really obscure stamp. We got that. You got him, Clancy. Yeah. I just love that idea. I think it's one of the better ones. Let's see here. This is a fun one. Walter Frost, Jim Clavering, has a problem. Jim Clavering is the character. The woman he loves was involved in the theft of several valuable jewels. Clavering, a World War I vet, wants the stones returned to the rightful owners so that Helen, his sweetie, won't be any trouble. However, this involves reverse burglary, breaking into places to return the stolen gems, and that's difficult and harder with each attempt. So like that's the campaign premise, isn't it? Like the person you love is like, yeah, I'm kind of a jewel thief. Is like, well, got to put it back, but we don't want to get caught. You can't just mail them. Then they'll start looking for you. So we gotta sneak them back in. So that.
I also love the idea of like somebody broke in here and returned these and ruined our prosecution.
Yeah.
Security around the clock. No one will return my goods to me. No.
Yeah, because like, the plot twist is the villain was doing, the victim was actually a villain trying to do insurance fraud.
Oh yeah, you're trying to give it back to prove that they have. Then they'll go to prison. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I just love the idea of hiring a private security company because you don't want people to give back things they stole from you.
Okay, so here's another French one. The Chevalier de Trelone is Bonaparte's aviator. The patriarch Trelone is a brilliant inventor and devoted to Napoleon's cause and invents a propeller-driven dirigible for him. With the dirigible, Napoleon conquers most of Europe. That's a hell of a dirigible.
Jesus Christ!
How many cannons can you fit on that fucking thing? It's a dirigible.
A lot, I guess. I mean, if he had air superiority before air was a thing, that would be a game changer. But yeah,
I guess the intel will be like, yeah, we can see the armies here. Like,
you know what? I don't fire on a fucking hot air balloon, a cannon at all for any reason, or a musket, or really anything with shot. Just it's a bad idea. Also, if you fire, like, what happens when the 10-pounders go back for recoil? Guess we're going this way now. That would be how you steer. Like, the recoil would throw you off the battlefield.
Maybe they're literally just dropping rocks, but I can't imagine that being too efficient. Like maybe they just have one guy with one bow and arrow and he's got really good vision. He just sees the general and just snipes him.
I mean, you could grenades, I guess, but like such a terrible idea. Just like if I fire right, he fires left, we're going to collide in Hindenburg together. Like it's just, Maybe I would love to see, a campaign where like I'm going to roll for inventing a dirigible for Napoleon, and then like, okay, what's your skill? And then you roll for it. And they're like, yeah, he loves it. It is in mass production. It turns out it's just a fucking disaster. It's just raining fire from the sky.
Yeah, you could also do an alternate history thing, like where Napoleon conquered Europe with dirigibles, of course, and like see where that takes you.
Yeah, if you're not doing Sky Pirates, then why do you?
Oh, that would be perfect for Sky Pirates.
Yeah, you got to do a Crimson Skies kind of.
Oh my god! Yeah. But they're slow. They're not like fast. It's easier to board. That's really good. Like it. Yeah, I really like Sky Pirates, the dirigible Sky Pirates of Europe. Let's see. Robert A. Dillon's Tracy Down is a master thief who employs 2 chimpanzees to help him with crimes in Paris, across Africa, and in New York. So I mean, it's a pretty interesting NPC. Like it's just a dude with 2 chimps.
I mean, pets are pretty broken in most RPG rule systems. They're either not accounted for enough or they're way OP. So, get yourself some chimp followers. Yeah. Your guy who can carry all your gear might be great for your encumbrance load, but he can't rip a man's face off with his teeth. And 2 chips can do that lickety split. That's just good planning.
Yeah. Okay. So, French authors, Jean Delahaye's Frank Hardy. Frank Hardy is a adventurous French Boy Scout who, along with his sister, 4 of her friends, and 11 other scouts, has a series of adventures around the world in the radio plane of the inventor engineer Coriadad. They visit the Hollow Earth across the solar system and explore Mars, where they fight Martians like H.G. Wells. Boy Scouts in space, but there's also a lot of them. So for me, that's a peasant funnel.
Yeah. If there's someone I don't want to give Miss Frizzle powers, it is decidedly a Boy Scout master. They do not need the power to transport children across all of time and space. They cannot afford that type of responsibility. Most Boy Scout leaders I know can't handle like regular Boy Scouting, not to mention in the Hollow Earth. Yeah. Terrifying thought.
But yeah, just also there's just hordes of these scouts. Every player gets like a squad of 4 scouts.
I mean, that radio plane better have some more seats because we're going to need more than 11 scouts if this motherfucker's penetrating the veil of reality in his magic radio plane. It is going to be like some drifting classroom levels of mortality. Just that's a lot of dead kids, man.
It's a lot of dead scouts.
As Backdraft 2 said, that's a lot of dead kids.
A lot of dead kids.
Yeah.
I just want to make that random scout generator. Like, what's your? Oh, you start with one random merit badge, and that's your ability. Like that's it. Like,
you play 4 at once.
Yeah, you play 4 at once. Yeah. Oh man, I really want to do that one. Let's see. We'll do a couple more. American engineer who invents the Alexei Tolstoy. Garen is an American engineer who invents the hyperboloid, a laser-like heat ray, and uses it to try to conquer the world. He discovers a massive deposit of gold and claims it, overcoming various sleazy Europeans and corrupt Americans on the way. So, good for him. He threatens the world with ecological disaster and briefly succeeds in ruling the decadent capitalist United States before he's toppled thanks to the efforts of the sexy, adventurous, and poor but honest Russian policeman. So it's communist Russian pulp. Of the 20s.
After threatening the world's ecological collapse.
I don't know what to tell you, man. Like,
what if I poison all the water? Will you give me America if I say I won't do this? Yeah.
Let's see here. Author Day Howden's Smith's Grey Maiden is a thin gray sword of excellent forging and bloodthirsty disposition, forged for Pharaoh Thutmose III and tempered in the blood of one of the pharaohs, of the one the Pharaoh loved and the one he hated, is used throughout the centuries. So it's a pulp about a sword. The blade is keen and terrible. And irresistible in battle.
You too could write wields, but maybe you'd put some rules in it this time.
Some rules that didn't fucking suck. Yeah.
I do like the idea of an RPG where you play a sword and the adventurer is your equipment. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you'd probably have to write some rules about that. And apparently it can't be done.
Yeah, you can. Maybe you can put your fucking character sheet available on the internet. So people can just download the character sheet. No, or just have a character sheet. Anyway, the Hardy Boys are actually in public domain now. So you can just do the Hardy Boys. Yeah.
Get it.
Yeah.
And again, no one tell the Riverdale people. Under no circumstances can they know about this. We can't allow Hideo Kojima to read Infinite Jest. They cannot know about the Hardy Boys.
Let's see here. Chinese pulp. Jiang Qian's Hui Yuan Wenjia is a martial arts master who in the 1890s is disgusted by China's decrepit state. He founds a martial arts school to help cure China's spiritual, cultural, and political sickness. He defeats 3 foreign martial art masters as a way of demonstrating the superiority of his martial skill. But then the Boxer Rebellion takes place, and then they fight valiantly. They're all killed in the fighting in Beijing. So basically every Golden Harvest movie.
You just described Iron Monkey.
Yeah.
No, I'm always down for that. Like anytime you want to remake the Showtime film Warrior, I'm there. If it's any kind of street level, I'm real good at Kung Fu. Let's see what happens. I will watch it. Yeah, that would be fun. We'll do the one way. So
The Portuguese author Ronaldo Vieira, his character's name is Jim Joyce, New York celebrity detective modeled on Nick Carter. He is the terror of thieves and those with bloody hands. He's consulted by policemen around the U.S. on cases, and his Lestrade is Inspector Douglas. And his Moriarty is the evil vivisector and surgeon, Dr. Satanas.
Subtle.
Yeah, who was born in 1714, is tall, gaunt, dresses in all black, and has a skull-like face and lidless eyes with enormous irises. The secret to Carter's...
Who do you want to do your surgery? Well, yeah. Dr. Satanis comes recommended. Cut to dude with no eyelids.
Yeah.
Hauntingly staring at you. Who is over 100 years old.
Yeah. No problem. Yeah.
He seems like he knows what he's doing. Good bedside manner, Dr. Satanis.
Yeah, now there's just a lot of, pulp stuff is out there, and there's a huge amount of it, and it's very mineable for material, just for your own games, or if you want to publish something. For me, the Boy Scout idea funnel really stands out. I kind of want to do the D100 random merit badge table, and vaguely, I don't know which would out of all of them was the one that really stood out to you.
I'm just convinced now that I live in Jack Calhoun's sunken Arkansas, and I wonder what level of hillbilly reality I'm on before I slip further into the drain of sunken the beneath Arkansas.
Yeah. If you're looking for resources, if you're looking for fun stuff, check out the public domain. It's getting bigger every year, at least for now. And there's tons of cool stuff on there. So, but when we come back, we'll have some I just want we're doing shout outs because I think people should know there are things in this world other than Elden Ring. I think it's important in this day and age.
Disagree, but I'll go along because it's your show.
Yeah. Elden Ring exists and is really great, and we're all playing it, but it doesn't need a shout out. I mean, we're kind of shouting out right now, but anyways, moving on to other things. So I actually, before Elden Ring, I was playing a really fun game called Inscription. That's spelled with a Y instead of an I. And it's from the same developer who did Pony Island and Hex, and it's basically somewhat like a roguelike deck building game, but it's also an escape room / puzzle game with a very interesting plot and very interesting presentation, and I quite enjoyed it. Have you seen it?
Yes, I am interested in getting it myself. I just haven't looked at it yet.
Yeah.
It seems like it's more involved story-wise than something like Slay the Spire. You're lucky I'm not playing right now as we're talking. So I haven't really gotten into it yet because deck building and that level of engagement doesn't really read the same for me anymore. Because I'm playing Slay the Spire in my head when I'm not doing other things. So.
Yeah, the narrative in it is really very artfully presented, and I found it quite intriguing. The ending is really cool, and there's an endless mode if you like the core deck building mechanics. You can do the deck building stuff, so you can keep on doing it, which I was actually doing before that. So, but in terms of other shout outs. But speaking of Elden Ring, you've been reading something that was an inspiration for Elden Ring.
So they did the Kentaro Nomura. They did all of Berserk, all that we have in the full-blown Dark Horse omnibus publications. So they're faux black leather. They have bookmark ribbons, and they are about $50 a piece, but they're very well put together. They're very solidly bound. You can really read them. And I'd never read Berserk before because it does weird Japanese stuff, and I have problems with that sometimes. But man, I don't have a problem with him just Van Art chopping through some painstakingly researched and drawn Renaissance era knight guys with a raw slab of iron or are being too insane to be dragged into hell. That shit rules. And I'd enjoyed reading it a whole lot. So I wouldn't call it woke by any means, but the art is very pretty. Parts of the story are very cool. It's a shame that it never got to finish. But
Yeah, for every anime or manga, there's at least one thing. There's like, God damn it, Japan.
Yep.
Why'd you got to do that? Why?
And it's usually more than one.
Usually more than one. And some series are nothing but that. Like, but yeah, even the great stuff. Yeah.
And again, we don't want to put it all on Japan. Again, the Riverdale show producers.
Yeah.
Something America has to answer for. Like the War on Terror and all sorts of other things.
Wow. Speaking of crimes in America, Manny and I watched this interesting series on Amazon Prime called Lula Rich. And it is a 4-part series on the company / multi-level marketing company / pyramid scheme / no, we're not a pyramid scheme / yes, you are.
Mormonism.
Yeah. Close. LuLaRoe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Started.
So Mormonism.
Yeah. Started by Mormons.
The MLM religion. Yeah.
If you've not heard of LuLaRoe, it is a company that ostensibly sells leggings and women's fashion. But their rise to power was done by this. You get more money for recruiting other people to be retailers, quote unquote. And they would sell them online through these selling parties and in person instead of stores.
Husband won't let me out of the home, but the store came to me.
Like in LuLaRoe, they would encourage retailers to have their husbands quit their job to help with the LuLaRoe. Not just so it's totally not because you just be dependent on us for income now. No, not at all. Why would we say that? But like, yeah, that was their gimmick, was like every design, they'd only print like 100 or 1,000 pieces for it. So like there were limited ones. So it was like fucking Beanie Babies, but leggings. Then they were a pyramid scheme because they made money by recruiting people.
Because everything is.
Yeah.
Everything is.
Yeah. But yeah, there's another game that you've been playing lately other than Elden Ring that sounded really fun.
Sifu's amazing. It is the best beat 'em up fighting game I think I've ever played.
Damn.
Like the hit detection on it is like frame perfect good, and the extensive choreography of it, the moves themselves. I don't want to say realistic because no one wins.
It's a martial art movie choreography.
Yeah, realistic for martial arts movie, because you're basically choreographing one. So Sifu, you're on this quest for revenge. You're moving through these levels. They're quite difficult with your basic move set. You can get XP and unlock things on runs, but every time you die, you'd get a death counter. So you start at 1. So if you die at age 20, when you get resurrected, you're up at 21. But if you die again, your death counter went up. And so now you're going to actually be, when you get up, 24. And then you're going to be 28, and then it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And if you age out past 75, you can't fight anymore. And then you lose the game. You got to start over. So you've got these very hard levels full of all of these hundreds of mooks, right? And there's these mini bosses in there, which are staged in a nice, like, linear kung fu storytelling thing with great set pieces. Like, you do the old boy fight, you do the club scene fight, you do all sorts of cool stuff. And you're moving through, but there'll also be bosses that just appear amongst the goons. Like, you'll fight a goon and you'll do like the takedown move, and then it won't work, and then they'll be worth extra. But if you beat them, your death counter can go down. And there's these very subtle moves that are just game-breakingly necessary. Like, you need to be able to unlock this sweep power. You need to be able to do this palm strike. And so it's very difficult, but it teaches you the game. But that death counter thing, even if you beat it, you'll like beat it in your 56 or something, which means the next level, you're going to be fucked because it's going to be harder. And you're also starting with less lives. So what you end up doing to get good at Sifu is replaying the same level over and over and over again to try and gain XP, because anytime you get an XP unlocked 6 times, it's permanent.
Oh, okay.
So what you end up doing is sort of re-choreographing these fights through this level endlessly, so that by the time you get through it, because you were like, well, I want to be 21, so I have maximum lives to get to this next one. So by the time you get through the club thing, you have choreographed like a picture perfect martial arts thing. You're like Jackie Chan kicking Ottomans into dude's shins while you're punching the throat of another dude. And then you spin around and kick a bottle into a girl's face so you can take another guy out with an arm bar. Like, you know where everyone's coming from. You know where the best weapons are. Like, it gets really cool. So yeah, it's difficult, but it rewards mastery in a way that I haven't seen before, because like Elden Ring, you want to beat the hardest boss on earth. You beat it, thank God. I never want to do that again. Sifu, you do it. I was like, well, I can do it better next time. And that's interesting. Yeah.
No, I really like the mechanic. It also, like, watching gameplay footage of it, it reminded me of like rhythm games, like trying to master like an increasingly hard DDR or something like that, because like to get the rhyming, or not the rhythm and the timing down perfectly.
And it's got like the 360 degree like sort of combat ability of like, say, an Arkham Knight or something, like one of the Arkham games, but like where Batman had to do some moves to get like 20 feet away so you could hit that other guy and really have that omnidirectional thing.
Yeah, it kind of
like they make everything look really realistic in here. Like the way he holds baseball bats is sort of like in a knife hand.
Yeah.
Like with it back over his back. But if you'll go hit somebody behind you, he will just take his hand and like stab the end of the bat into their face behind him without looking. And it looks like realistic. He will just go up and pop him with it. But then when you go back to the front, he will just do like a baton sweep. So like, it's got parry mechanics, it's got dodge mechanics, it's got a structure meter, a lot like Sekiro. There's a lot of different ways to play it, but yeah, it's very cool. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, no, it sounds a lot of fun. I will pick it up eventually. I think it's on, unfortunately for PC, it's only on Epic right now.
I'm playing on PS5. It is very pretty too.
Oh yeah. Nice. So things that are also pretty, or like very beautiful. Maddie and I not too long ago, watched a movie on Netflix called The Power of the Dog, starring Benedict Cumberbatch. And it's a very, very beautiful and moving drama film about outsiders being someone who doesn't quite belong. It's, set in the West. But like Benedict Cumberbatch is this like Ivy League educated, cattle baron kind of person. But he's very much in the image of the cowboy and doing cattle drives and that kind of thing. And, it's
gentrifying the plains.
Well, it's also like, his brother falls in love with a woman of a lower class and she has a teenage son.
My God.
And they move into the big house and then tensions form. And it's like, yeah, a lot of the movies, but like being outsiders, also not just like culturally, but also like sexually. Like Benedict Cumberbatch is very, very big subtext of the movie about him being like a closeted gay man and like the tension that involves. And like, yeah, it's this movie is also like recently Sam Elliott was on this interview with Mark Maron and was like, well, I don't like that movie. They're all these cowboys dressed up like Chippendales guys. Well, I think it's like, well, I think that's kind of the point of the movie there, Sam. So,
oh my God.
Yeah. So anyways,
why do they even ask old men questions anymore?
Yeah.
Like news, Duck Dynasty guy racist. Well, no shit, man.
Yeah.
He was an 88-year-old man born in Kentucky.
Yep.
Yeah, he's racist.
Yep.
Just stop talking to him.
Yeah.
Just don't ask those questions.
Yeah. Anyways, I quite enjoyed it. You watched a series not too long ago.
Yeah. So we've got a free trial of Apple TV. So we started watching For All Mankind. And that is, I think it's Tom Hanks produced, but it's their...
Yeah, Tom Hanks is big in the space.
It's their alternate history of NASA. So the basic premise of it is America loses the space race by a week. And they get people on the moon before us. And that actually, due to the hysteria of the Cold War and the image of that, paradoxically makes America give a shit about NASA and actually fund it, which is not the world we live in. And so it becomes very interesting because the second person they send to the moon is a woman. the Soviets, so it just shoots gender rights forward a couple decades because America is like, well, yeah, we're not going to be stood up on that. So it's very interesting in that regard. I think it's pretty well researched. I think it's a pretty interesting thought experiment. I would stop after the first season because the second season gets very dumb and much less researched, and we just got to our first moon gun battle. And that's not even the stupidest thing that I saw. Don't care for the second season very much. I think it's bad, not good. But the first season's pretty entertaining.
Or just go to second season, just skip ahead to the moon gun battles and just watch those.
My favorite part of it was they shot them and then they went running forward to apply first aid. You're on the moon. There's no first aid.
Get into it.
They're dead.
If you can get an airlock in 5 seconds, maybe.
Yeah, but you're not. Yeah, like they're just like, we're gonna tape the suit. I'm like, okay, now they're just bleeding out in a space suit.
Yeah, you're kind of fucked.
Yeah, one guy lights on fire in his pure oxygen environment in the suit and starts burning. And they're like, oh, we got to fix this. I'm like, you're not, guys. You'd fix this if you empty the clip and made this faster. Mm-hmm. What are you doing? Like, there's no going back here.
There's no going back.
Yeah. You don't need a medic for moon gun battles.
Yeah. We watched a series on Netflix that I think you would like. All of Us Are Dead, a Korean zombie teen drama series, basically
where everyone's like 36.
Don't worry about it.
Okay, cool.
Sexy teenagers being menaced by zombies. The zombie virus outbreak is there's actually the equivalent of like aberrants in this.
Oh, good,
but
yeah.
not like monster, not like Shoggoth ones, but like they look like zombies, but they're different, and they have
Korea is they've done a lot of great zombie fiction, of recent late, but they're also very into you think you know zombies, wait till you see my extra special plus zombies. See Sweet Home, the entirety of where they're all zombies, but they're all special snowflake zombies.
They're all special zombies. But there's even like a vlogger who is like, I'm hearing rumors that there's a zombie outbreak in this city. Come on, Twitch, let's go in and check it out. Like a GoPro mounted on his head. Like as a miter character, as like, yeah, that's very Red Markets. So yeah, no, it's a fun show. It's only
just as it's the apocalypse doesn't mean we can let our subscriber count drop.
Yeah, I mean there is a bit of like Walking Dead level of like characters doing dumb things to move the plot forward, but like,
well, yeah, a lot of people will do that.
Yeah.
When you consider the zombie menace rationally, and the solution is lock the fucking door. You got to start writing around the fact that they just don't keep doing that.
Also, most of the characters are teenagers, so teenagers make dumb decisions.
Yeah,
weirdly enough. And then finally, there's a game I think I'll be running for RPPR at some point this year, hopefully in the near future, called Raccoon Sky Pirates. Where the players are all raccoons or members of the raccoon's crew. There's rules to be like an opossum or a rat or a pigeon or something like that if you want to, but you're all members of this crew. You have a sky ship, and let's go on a heist, gang. And the heists are being like, let's steal food from that dumpster behind the 7-Eleven, or like let's break into this house and steal the food in the refrigerator. But you have a sky ship.
Oh that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a little more.
I think raccoons would be adorable in like a little dirigible.
Yeah,
perhaps in Napoleon uniform.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, and the ship is always called the Trash Fire. But
Fire.
Yeah, you have rules to upgrade it as a group. Like what can it do well? Is it fast? Is it stealthy? So it's a fun little game. Comes with a deck of cards for like complications and stuff like that. So
cool.
So that's something to look forward to in RPPR at some point. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for supporting RPPR on the Patreon. By the way, we just did another After Hours episode where we're looking at Castle Greyhawk with Bridget and Noah, and we found the Ready Player One level of this dungeon we're looking at, Caleb, the Castle Greyhawk. Like
all the other ones weren't.
Well, this is more so.
Oh God,
there's like Ghostbuster references and Star Trek references.
The thought that it could get worse than the one chapter I read is truly depressing.
The Amazing Drider Man. Yep.
Well,
yeah. No, it's amazing.
yeah. Back to Patreon.
Yeah, back to Patreon. So you can listen to all of us suffer.
Yeah. I don't have to pay because he just tells me about it. Despite my protests.
Yeah.
But for you who don't have that privilege.
Yeah. And we'll be doing another episode this month to make up because we didn't do anything in February because of the whole wedding thing. But the RPPR live stream Sundays at 6:00. Check my social media and the links if you want to watch. And Caleb, anything else?
Nope. Just you know where I'm at.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this. So
yeah.
hi.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.